Well, howdy do, and welcome to another episode of Hush Hush Taboo Talks with Shay and Juju. I'm Juju.
And I'm Shay.
And this episode, y'all, we had to bring it back to movie madness. Now, we watched this back when, it's still fall technically. It's winter on the 21st, but this is at least being recorded before then. At any rate, we're doing Us.
Right.
The movie Us by Jordan Peele.
One of my fave Jordan Peele is one of my favorites so far in the black horror world.
So spanking new.
Yeah.
Like he knows exactly what he's doing. I don't like to compare people, but I feel like he's watched and listened to and studied Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of movies. Everybody. Yeah. Blaxploitation, Spike Lee.
Yeah.
And he is those things. Yeah. Like he's definitely of that caliber, and he's so brand new. But we did do Get Out. We did. And that wound up being successful, so thank you all for that. Go ahead and listen to that
if you haven't listened to it yet.
If you haven't. And spoiler alert, because we will be talking about Us.
Yes.
I have yet to see Nope. I want to see Nope just for my own shits and giggles, and then I want to talk about it. But
it's good. It's really good.
You saw it without me. I'll talk to you later. That'll be an outtake. No.
I'm sorry.
Well, you don't mind seeing it again.
No, I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Jordan Peele.
Let's get into
it.
Us. So, the theme, I'm going to refer to my notes because, I'm a note taker.
Yes,
and
me too. I have my little
it's a heavy
notebook here.
One thing about Jordan Peele, I do want to say, I don't know if I made this explicit last time. I think I did though. He's so deep and abstract in his not only production but like in his way of being.
Yes.
And then that manifests and that translates to a physical manifestation that he curates completely, writing, producing, directing, cinematographically, all of these things.
Right.
Cinematically, however you want to say it.
And just to touch a little bit on that.
Please, go ahead.
He uses his creativity to also bring awareness and bring information on certain topics.
And socio-political.
Yes. And it's so refreshing because, like you said, sometimes we see it in the horror field and then sometimes we don't. It's just a regular horror movie. But he uses his horror movie, themed movies and his creativity to shine light on certain aspects of what's going on in the world at this moment.
Yes.
So I like that about him.
I do too, and he uses his clout for the positive because he does have clout, like pull, influence. Use it for the betterment, and then edutainment.
Yes.
You're educating, and
we're
having fun while we learn it. Can I get a witness? It's true. No, edutainment. I wish I made that up.
Right.
No, so I wrote down the theme. There's a theme of the father being either oblivious or insensitive to the experience of others. The father of Lupita, I guess the father of the clan, Lupita's husband. They're married, right? Yeah. When Lupita is a child, her therapist, psychiatrist, around circa 1986, suggests that she is traumatized from having been lost in the House of Mirrors. Then her father says that she wasn't in Nam. So we learn that Lupita was tethered by the doppelganger, and then the untethering begins.
Yes.
So, without getting too much into it too quickly, adult Lupita mentions repeated coincidences, which her husband denies. Spoiler alert. I feel like that's been explicitly said.
Yes.
But, okay. Lupita's husband denies, overlooks, and dismisses her. I feel like that's a trend in, at least in my direct experience and my indirect experience. I was in melanated populations that I know, dismissing emotions as opposed to validating them because they're always underlying and brewing. They exist anyway. So the point is to use them, to not be used by them, to address them and to acknowledge them in the first place.
Right.
They have to exist. And we're not going to go on a the psychotherapeutic tirade, but I just want to say I feel like that's one of the things that he definitely presses on. That's one of the underlying themes.
Absolutely.
So deep. They're psychological thrillers too.
Yes.
I want to say that.
Oh yes, definitely psychological.
Jordan Peele is very much psychological thriller, as I see it, as we see it.
Absolutely.
When Lupita asks the evil doppelgangers, "What are you people?" Her reply, the doppelganger's reply is, "We're Americans." So then she describes untethering. So that says to me that in order to acquire your freedom, you can join this club, but you have to oppress other people in order to join it. So is that really freedom? I want
you to elaborate on that just a little bit.
Well, so at the risk of, anyone who knows that I'm writing and cultivating this project. It's kind of like, the birth of something. It is the birth of something. It's the creation of something. Creation. But it touches on, for me, sociopolitically, when she says we're Americans, it's like, okay, so this is the system that we're one of the systems. So there's three, which I not so affectionately coined the unholy trinity, which I'm writing about, and that is yet to be published, and y'all will hear about that as soon as it comes to fruition.
I'm excited.
At the risk of saying too much about it, because it's still, it's still in utero. We're still doing it, but it's still cultivating.
Right.
But anyway, there are three systems from which I think most of the direct catastrophe and atrocity that we experience comes. And it's white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism. Not in those orders.
Right.
Not in that order.
Right.
I feel like patriarchy probably came before all of it. But at any rate, these are all malignant cancers, tumors, not the zodiac sign, malignant tumors that we need to get rid of. So I feel like, or I intuit, that my experience is that Jordan's talking about this is the American way and these American systems, and this is how it looks, this is how it feels from now the overwhelming majority of the population, and now there's no two ways about it. Like, we are it's not a minority situation, just numerically and statistically and factually. It's just the way it is. So anyway, and it's definitely an undeniable experience, and so this is how it looks. So if you're dealing with this is because these are like perhaps malignant seeds that you sow, that you have sown. So look at yourself. What are you dealing with?
Right.
And I feel like it's subconscious. What'd you write? Please.
No, I wrote the same thing that you had. I wrote, "What are you people? We're Americans." Literally quoted. And I wrote down shadow work, mirror work, mirroring what we are in a evil self resides within. I wrote down this is this little bit, this person, this evildoer can reside in you if you allow it to happen.
For sure.
And that's how that's how I took it, because Jordan Peele is like an artist. He is an artist, so you can interpret it. Deep. Right.
Deep AF.
That's what I interpret. That's what I interpreted, because it was like you're going into this dark place and you're finding another part of you, and it's in a mirror. So it reminded me of shadow work. And every time when we go deeper,
it's correct.
Yes, when we go into shadow work, we look in the mirror and we look at the stuff and we face things that we don't want to face.
Yes.
We face the ugly side of us.
What is called ugly.
Yes.
What has been described as ugly.
Right, that we're trying to break through and work through. And I feel like that, in a sense, was kind of, in my opinion, the message that they were sending. And they said, I don't know who said it, but they said fluoride in the water where the government used to control my mind. So that ties back to, into like doing, did you write who said it?
Mind control. Lupita's doppelganger was
said
saying that they use mind control since the soul cannot be manipulated. That's the same scene, right?
Yes.
Isn't that some interesting?
So maybe that was why she was like that, because she consumed what America gave her, programmed her in a sense. Because as you can see, she's trapped in some type of laboratory, right? They turn on the TV for them to watch certain things, right? And there were rabbits literally in cages, which symbolizes...
It's the opening scene, I think.
Right.
It's, an eerie, poetically done
it opened
shot
with the rabbits
with the rabbit,
cages.
yes.
That's symbolic. That's a huge symbolism, I feel
sure.
like, from Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of like brings American citizens and what we're doing and how they're programming us, and how you say about capitalism and training us through school system and through all these schools, making us, get up early, be trained by a bell, eat when they say eat, it's all going programmed.
The school to prison pipeline.
That part.
And I was like, oh, there's a word for that the whole time? The whole time?
Yeah.
We'll talk about Miss Doubtfire.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's an actual thing, and he calls attention to it in the most entertaining of ways. He's educating in the most entertaining of ways, and it's a good way to... Probably the most effective way for me anyway to digest.
Yes.
And if it's not entertainment based, then I have to make the entertainment.
Yes.
To digest it. But yeah.
Edutainment, that's what you said?
Edutainment, Toxic City, Party of Not Us.
I can't do.
For meaningful feedback. Yes,
I'm
baby.
so done. So yeah, it opens up with that scene, and I also wrote down. I only wrote down a little bit, but I also wrote down when we first go there, and Lupita is the little girl. When first he takes us to the fair.
Yes. And
it was a sign said Vision Quest, right? Vision Quest, find yourself. That stuck out for me on the Mirror House. Like, Vision Quest, find yourself.
With these doppelgangers, with these expressions of...
But it goes back to shadow.
What do you call
For me, it keeps giving me shadow self, in a sense. It keeps giving me face
that
your
which is
truth.
Called shadow.
Right. Face your truth. Face your shadow self. Find yourself.
As filtered through a toxic lens, such as these systems that we just spoke about.
Absolutely.
That necessarily condition us because we're born into it.
Yes.
And then also taking your power back because you're not a product of your environment necessarily.
Right. And I feel like the person, well, they switched. If you've seen the movie, you'll know. But the person said, you could have took me with you. And that stood out to me. Like, she could have.
You could have saved me, in other words?
You could have saved me. And
or is it salvation?
In
like,
that part, for me, it went back to shadow work again. It went back to finding yourself, taking even the bad part of you and changing it and transforming it and taking it with you instead of exiting it completely out and dismissing yourself. She's like, you could have took me with you, because she was a part of her. She was her, but just living in somewhere else. She could have took her with her and say, Mommy, Daddy, I found this other girl here that looks just like me. But she didn't. She tricked her. She let her stay in the dark realm.
Right.
And she left and lived a life with her parents.
Because her ticket to freedom was the oppression of someone else, who
Absolutely.
was herself. And
Was
that's
herself.
the other thing. It's like,
That's
when you're
crazy,
oppressing
right?
others, you're oppressing yourself.
Yourself.
But come on, Jordan Peele.
Right.
Come on with the hyper-metaphysical, oh my goodness, like meditative truths.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People spend lifetimes philosophizing about
Searching.
these things and trying to come to the actual truth of what it is.
Yes.
That's such a keen insight. And also that each character, including the children, have doppelgangers.
Yes.
And the little boy.
Yes.
I got so excited. The little boy, his doppelganger is masked. For most of... Do we see his face at the end?
I think we did.
I think we see his face. But for a lot of it, he's masked. And I'm like, that says something too. It's like he's up front with it, up close and personal, face to face with this thing. And it's still masked.
Right.
What is that saying?
What does
you know,
that
and I didn't make a note of it, but I made a mental note, and I'm like, there has to be something else.
Right.
Lingering underneath.
Yeah.
That's going on there. There's just so much. I put down patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism. In order to be more free, comfortable, less oppressed, you must oppress others. What a wretched place to be. That's what I wrote. Well, because it's the truth.
Yeah.
Is it a metaphor for healthy integration of the shadow self? This is I feel like my notes are behind. We said it without even knowing.
I didn't even know you said that. That's crazy.
That's what it was.
Wow.
So I guess that's what the the overwhelming energy and spirit that I get from it, like the geist, the ghost, the spirit, is how are you how are you looking at yourself? Yes, there's fuck shit going on, but you're always in control of yourself.
Absolutely.
So all we can do is manage and mitigate and cultivate that which is us, and that's a lot. Like, it's not like that's all we can do, and it's limiting. It's not supposed to be limiting. That's actually enough.
Right.
You know, we are enough, and what we have control over is enough. But how are you using what you've been born into that insists on using you?
Don't let, that's what
Is it using you?
Right. So we all go through trauma. Don't let the trauma use you. You use the trauma.
The shadow self.
Absolutely.
I feel like
absolutely.
this
It
movie
all
is
falls
shadow
back
work.
into shadow work, right?
I think it
and
is.
mirror work. That's
Yeah.
what I was saying. It all falls back into that. I feel like finding yourself. You're on a quest. We're on an everlasting quest to find ourselves. We never know who we really are, and we come close. But as soon as we come close, I feel like we evolve to something else.
It's
And
something
this
else.
is life, and life is dynamic. So we have to go with the flow.
This concludes our episode on, really quick before we conclude though, we both made those notes about the systems negatively affecting the characters.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to each other, we watched
We
the
didn't
notes.
even see each
We
other's
watched the
notes.
movie at the
Yeah.
same time,
And we took
and
notes
took our own
separately.
notes,
Yeah.
and didn't really compare them. You know, it's when it's spontaneous, not to give all the trade secrets away, but when it's spontaneous, then you feel it, and it's organic for all of
And
us. So
natural.
we came together at the end.
We were
of it.
in sync, y'all. We were in sync.
whole time.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, were y'all in sync? Let us
Yes.
know at hush_podcast on IG.
Yes.
Thank you.
And let us know too, if you've seen Us, what is your take on it?
The movie
I want to
Us.
hear.
Yeah, I know y'all watching Us, but the movie Us.
The
Oh,
movie
sorry, go ahead,
Us.
yeah.
I want you guys' interpretation because I know everybody can interpret it differently.
It's so
I want to
deep.
hear you guys' perspectives on it too, and if you have any questions moving forward. And if you haven't seen it, go and see it now. Like literally.
And if you haven't seen it, I hope you pause way before now because you done seen it at this
we
point.
should have said pause. Maybe.
No, we did say spoiler
Okay,
alert,
good.
but
Okay,
you
good.
know,
All right.
if you made it to this point, then see it for the first or third time.
Yes, and watch it again and see if you see what we were seeing.
What we could have missed.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
saw
what we
too
missed.
deeply in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That part. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Stay
Bye-bye.
spooky.